continue to read from Bhagavad Gita as it is via the introduction. We are reading about the Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma. So, yet man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to particular time and circumstance, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or an adherent of any other sect. Such designations are non-Sanatan Dharma. We think Dharma means a faith that we are following. Oh, I'm of the Hindu Dharma, we say, for example. Or this is a Christian Dharma or Muslim Dharma. But those are just faith. That's not Dharma. Such designations are non-Sanatan Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change his faith, and so on. So all these are faith. It's not the eternal occupation. It's not the eternal nature of a soul. Because somebody, we might profess, oh, I'm a Hindu in this life, and then after I give up my body, and then the next body, I might be born as an animal. You know, so then where is that gone? So this is just a faith. But in all circumstances, the change of religious faith does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service to others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, in all circumstances, is a servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type of faith is not to profess one Sanatan Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatan Dharma. So we may belong to any faith, Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, but what is common in all is to render service. We are always serving others. Whether we know it or no, the businessman is serving his customer. The parents are serving the children are serving the parents. You know, service is integral. If nothing else, we are serving our own false ego. We are feeding it. So this service attitude, this service is the Sanatan Dharma of what? Not the body, but of the soul. When we are speaking this, it refers to the soul. So factually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and we living entities are his servitors. We are created for his enjoyment, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. It is not possible to be happy independently, just as no one part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for the living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental loving service unto the Supreme Lord. So our true position, factually, it's a fact. It's not a belief. It's not made up. It's not imagination. We are related to the Supreme Lord in service. Yeah. Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he is the supreme enjoyer. And we, the living entities, are his servitors. We are meant to be enjoyed by him. We are created for his enjoyment. And then, and if we participate, the devotees, what do? They're participating in the enjoyment of the Supreme. Then the devotee becomes happy. We can become happy only if we participate. Because when we serve Krishna, he feels happy. And the happiness that he feels, he lets us feel it. And that's how we feel happy. But in conditioned life, what is our conditioned life is, why shall I make Krishna happy? Who is he? I need to make my own self happy. Why should I be meant for somebody else's enjoyment? I should be the enjoyer myself. And that is conditioned life. That's what we are trying to do in this material world. We are trying to enjoy separate from Krishna. So, but time and time again, we can see that we might get some kind of enjoyment. We can get some type of sense enjoyment, but it's very temporary. And it is very takes a lot of endeavor, lot of effort to get a little bit of enjoyment. The real enjoyment can be only when we connect it to Krishna through bhakti, through devotional service, which begins with hearing and chanting the holy name, hearing about Krishna. So if the hands, the legs, the eyes, they keep saying, what is this? We are just working for the stomach. We are not able to enjoy the food. And so we are not going to feed the stomach anymore. So they go on strike and they don't feed the stomach. After 4 or 5 days, those very hands and legs and eyes, they're like, oh my God, we are so weak. We are not able to move now. It's better we cooperate with the stomach. It's better we put the food in the stomach so that we can also become healthy. So right now we are that. We have become that. Why should I please Krishna? Why should I serve him? I need to serve myself. And so that's the reason we suffer. Is that okay?
Yes.
Because that's our conditioning. Our conditioning is, oh no, I need to enjoy by myself. Who is Krishna after all? Why should I be, be enjoyed by him? Why should somebody exploit me? We take it as exploitation. Why should somebody exploit me? Why should somebody enjoy me? So, anyway. Then in the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods or rendering service to them is not approved. It is stated in the 7th chapter, 20th verse, Kamestester hitagyanaha prapadyante anya devataha tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyata swaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Here it is plainly said that those who are directed by lust worship the demigods and not the Supreme Lord Krishna. So when we have a lot of material desires, we want instant gratification. I want this, then I will be happy. I want this, then I'll be happy. So what is the general tendency? Let me please this demigod, the demigod in charge of wealth, so I can be happy. Let me pray to Lakshmi Devi, I'll get a lot of money, then I'll be happy. Let me pray to Surya Dev, so then I can get good health, I can get good eyesight, then I will be happy. But here, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that if one does that, then we are just being directed by our lust. When we mention the name Krishna, we do not refer to any secretarial name. Krishna means the highest pleasure. And it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is the reservoir, also storehouse of all pleasure. I'm sorry. So what does Krishna mean? Krishna means highest pleasure. We are all hankering up after pleasure. Ananda Mayo Abhyasa, Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. The living entities, like the Lord, are full of they are full of consciousness and they are after happiness. The Lord is perpetually happy. And if the living entities associate with the Lord, cooperate with him, and take part in his association, then they also become happy. So we are full of consciousness. The Lord is full of consciousness. And what do we want? We want to be happy. We want to be always happy. And who is always happy? The Lord is always happy. He's the reservoir of all happiness. He's the source of all happiness. And so if we associate with him, then we will also be happy. Right? If we are thirsty, we drink water because water has the quality to quench the thirst. But if we are thirsty and we keep saying, no, I won't drink water. Why is it that only water can quench my thirst? let me drink something else, let me drink. But till the time we don't drink water, our thirst won't be quenched. Similarly, Krishna is the source of all happiness. I'm sorry. Till the time we don't associate with Krishna, we won't be happy. So we can stop here for today.
Okay.
So the only way we can be happy is if we associate with Krishna. That's the only way. Yeah. So we'll stop here for today then. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaurav Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.